Chosen one, stop what you are doing. I need you to hear this before another day passes. There is someone, a specific person, that God has been shaping, refining, and preparing to walk into your life. Not someday in a distant, blurry future, closer than you think. And the reason I know this is because of something happening in you right now that you may not have fully recognized yet. You have been carrying a weight in your chest lately. A quiet ache that does not come from sadness exactly, it comes from readiness. Your soul knows something your mind has not caught up to yet. You have been waking up with a strange sense that something is shifting. You have been pulling away from people who once had access to you. You have been feeling protective over your peace in a way that surprises even you. These are not random feelings, these are preparation markers. And this message, the one you are hearing right now, did not find you by accident. God placed it directly in your path because what He is about to do in your love life requires you to understand something first. By the time this message ends, you will not see your waiting season the same way again. You will not see your loneliness the same way. You will not see yourself the same way. Because what I am about to walk you through is the entire blueprint of what God has been doing behind the scenes, and the signs, the real, specific, undeniable signs that prove your soulmate is closer than you have ever believed. There are things I need to show you in this message that will take time. I will walk you through the painful past and why every heartbreak had a hidden purpose. I will show you 30 real signs that your shift is already happening right now. I will paint a picture of what God-ordained love actually looks like so you can recognize it when it arrives. I will walk you through the obstacles inside you that could delay this, and I will help you release them. And at the very end, I will speak a prayer and a declaration over your love life that I believe will stay with you long after this message is over. Every part of this matters, so stay with me all the way through. So stay close, because before I show you those signs, I need to take you somewhere first. Back to the place where this preparation began, back to the pain that started everything. And I want to start by telling you something no one else is going to say to you today. Your loneliness is valid. Not the Instagram version of loneliness, where someone posts a sunset with a caption about being alone with their thoughts. I am talking about the real kind. The kind that sits on your chest at 2 in the morning when the house is quiet and there is no one to call. The kind that hums underneath your smile at the dinner table when everyone else has someone beside them and you are setting a single plate. The kind that lives in the pause after someone asks, "So are you seeing anyone?" and you say no with a voice that sounds light but a stomach that drops. That loneliness. The one you have gotten so good at hiding that most people around you have no idea it exists. I see it. And more importantly, God sees it. Let me take you somewhere specific for a moment. Imagine it is a Sunday afternoon. You have just come home from something, maybe a gathering, maybe a wedding, maybe a casual hangout where couples sat close together and laughed at inside jokes and held hands under the table without even thinking about it. You smiled through it. You were happy for them, genuinely happy. But now you are home. The door clicks shut behind you, and in the silence of that room, something shifts. The mask comes off, and you sit down not because you are tired, but because the weight of pretending is heavier than anyone realizes. And in that silence, a thought crosses your mind. A thought you would never say out loud because it sounds too raw, too vulnerable, too close to the bone. Is it ever going to be my turn? I need you to know something about that question. It is not weakness, it is not neediness, it is not desperation. That question is a prayer, and it has been heard every single time you whispered it. Whether you whispered it into a pillow at midnight, or shouted it silently during a worship service, or felt it rise in your throat while watching a movie about love that felt nothing like your reality, it was heard. But here is what I need you to understand before we go any further. Your loneliness as a chosen one does not mean the same thing as loneliness in someone else. And I know that sounds strange, but stay with me. When an ordinary person feels lonely, it is often because they have not found connection yet. They go looking, they date, they try, and eventually they find someone who fits well enough. But when a chosen one feels lonely, it is different. You have not been unable to find connection. You have been unable to accept the wrong one. Something inside you, something deeper than preference or pickiness, has been rejecting every frequency that does not match yours. And that something is not a flaw. It is a filter, a divine filter that has been protecting you from settling for what was never meant to be yours. Think about it. How many times have you been close to someone, close enough that everyone around you said it looked right, close enough that on paper it made sense, but something in your gut, something in your spirit, whispered, no, and you listened, even when it hurt, even when it meant going back to that empty room and that single plate and that Sunday silence. You listened because you knew that what you carry inside you is too significant to hand to someone who cannot hold it. And I need you to hear me when I say this. That knowing, that refusal to settle, that willingness to endure loneliness rather than accept a counterfeit, that is not stubbornness. That is discernment operating at a level most people will never understand. But discernment has a cost, and the cost is this season you are in right now. The season where your faith in love itself has started to thin, where the hope you once carried so easily has grown heavier with each passing year, where you have started to wonder not just when, but if. I want to name something right now that you may have been afraid to name yourself. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from being alone for a long time. It is not the same as being tired from work or stressed from responsibility. It is a bone-deep fatigue that comes from carrying an unanswered longing year after year after year. It shows up in small ways. You stop looking up when someone new walks into the room. You stop imagining what it would feel like to be held. You start to build your life in a way that accommodates permanent aloneness, not because you want to, but because hoping has become more painful than accepting. And the hardest part is this. No one around you knows, because you are strong, you are capable, you have built a beautiful life, and people look at you and see someone who has it together. But underneath that strength, there is a quiet room where the question still echoes. Is it my turn yet? Can I ask you something honest right now? When was the last time you actually let yourself cry about this? Not about something else, not about work or family or stress, about this. About the ache of wanting someone to come home to and not having them. About the longing that you have been managing so carefully that it has become invisible even to you. If it has been a while, I understand. You have learned to survive by not looking directly at it. That is wisdom. That is self-preservation. But I want you to know that in this space, right now, it is safe to feel it, not to drown in it. Just to acknowledge it, because acknowledgement is the first step towards something shifting, and something is shifting. That is what this entire message is about. But before I show you the evidence, I need to honor the journey, because the signs of what is coming will not mean anything to you if we skip past what you have endured. So let me go deeper. Let me talk about the history, not just the loneliness, but the heartbreak. Not just the empty room, but the rooms that were once full with the wrong person. Because you have not just been alone, have you? Before the aloneness, there were people, there were relationships, there were moments where you thought, maybe this is the one. Maybe this is what God had planned. Maybe the waiting is finally over. And then it ended. Sometimes slowly, like a candle burning down to nothing, where you watch the light flicker and weaken and finally go dark. And you were not even surprised by the darkness because you had been watching it come for months. And sometimes, suddenly, like a door slamming in the middle of a conversation you thought was going somewhere, and you were left standing in a hallway wondering what just happened, holding flowers for a table, that no longer had two chairs. Some of you were betrayed. Not just disappointed, betrayed. Someone looked you in the eyes and said words they did not mean, built a future they had no intention of inhabiting, and then left as if the wreckage they created was not their responsibility to clean up. Some of you were not betrayed but slowly erased. You were in a relationship where your needs became invisible, where your voice became a suggestion instead of a statement, where you gave and gave and gave until you looked in the mirror one day and did not recognize the person staring back. And some of you never even got to the relationship. You were the one who was almost chosen, the one who was kept at arm's length, good enough to talk to but not good enough to commit to, close enough to touch but never close enough to hold. And that particular wound, the wound of almost, can be the deepest one of all, because there is no clean ending, just an open question that fades into silence. I need to say this clearly. If you are someone who has been through one or more of these experiences, the grief you carry is real. It is not dramatic. It is not an overreaction. The death of a relationship, even one that was not right for you, is still a death. And grief is the appropriate response to death. You do not need to rush past it. You do not need to pretend it does not still sting. And you certainly do not need to feel ashamed of the fact that your heart still carries the fingerprints of people who were not careful with it. But here is what I need you to see, and this is where things start to shift. There is a pattern in your past that you may not have noticed yet. And the pattern is this. Every relationship that did not work out, every person who left, every almost that faded into nothing, they all had one thing in common. They could not hold what you carry. Not because they were terrible people, not in every case. Some of them were good people who simply did not have the capacity for the depth of love that flows through you. Your frequency, and I mean this in the most grounded, honest sense, your frequency is different. It has always been different. You love at a depth that overwhelms people who are used to the shallow end. You see into people in ways that make them uncomfortable. You bring a weight of presence into a room that some people experience as too much, and so they left, or they stayed but could not meet you there, or they pulled back just enough that you felt the gap and knew, even if you could not articulate it, that this was not it. You were not attracting the wrong people because something is wrong with you. You were attracting them because your frequency was being calibrated. Each relationship, each heartbreak, each disappointment was recalibrating the signal, tuning it finer, making it more precise, so that when the right frequency finally arrives, there will be no confusion, no second guessing, no almost, just recognition. And here is what makes this different from everything you have heard before. The last relationship, the one that hurt the most, the one that still visits you in quiet moments when your guard is down, that one was not a wrong turn. God did not make a mistake by allowing it. He allowed it because something in you needed to be completed through that specific pain, a strength that could only be forged in that specific fire, a clarity that could only come from that specific disappointment. I know that is hard to hear. It might even make you angry, and if it does, good. That means something real is being touched right now. Because the grief of a lost relationship is valid, and the purpose behind its ending is real. Both of those things can be true at the same time. You can honor the pain and still recognize the design. And the design is this: God needed you to be available, truly, deeply, completely available. Not just physically single, spiritually unclaimed, emotionally unentangled, free in a way that goes deeper than relationship status, free in a way that only comes when every counterfeit connection has been cleared from the field. That clearing hurt. It was supposed to hurt. Not because God wanted you in pain, but because the roots of the wrong things had grown deep, and pulling them out was never going to be gentle. But the roots are out now, or they are coming out, and what remains is clean ground. Ground that has been tilled by tears, and softened by waiting, and made ready by a patience that you did not even know you possessed. There is a reason God allowed that specific person to hurt you. There is a reason the relationship ended the way it did. And there is something that was being built inside you during the worst nights, the nights you thought were empty. I am going to tell you exactly what was being built, but that comes next. Because everything I have described so far, the loneliness, the heartbreak, the patterns, the clearing, all of it has been leading somewhere. And where it leads is a story, a very old story, about a woman who lost everything and walked into a field with nothing and found something she could not have imagined. Her name was Ruth, and when I tell you she lost everything, I do not mean she had a bad year. I mean her entire world collapsed. Her husband died. The future she had planned, the life she had imagined, the home she had built with someone she loved, all of it was gone in a single season. And she was left standing in a foreign land with her mother-in-law, a woman named Naomi, who was so broken by her own grief that she told Ruth to leave. Go back to your family. Go back to your people. There is nothing left for you here. And this is where the story gets interesting, because Ruth had every reason to walk away, every logical reason to return to what was familiar, to find another husband through the usual channels, to take the safe road back to ordinary. But she did not. Something inside her, something that defied logic and circumstance, anchored her to a path she could not see the end of. She said to Naomi, "Where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God." She chose forward, into the complete unknown, with nothing. I want you to picture what that journey looked like. Two women walking along a dusty road toward a town called Bethlehem. No money, no status, no men to protect them in a world where women without men were invisible. Ruth was a foreigner, a Moabite, which in that culture meant she was the wrong nationality, the wrong background, the wrong everything. She had nothing that would make anyone look twice at her. And when she arrived in Bethlehem, her first act was not dramatic. It was not a grand gesture of faith. It was survival. She went to the fields to glean, which means she walked behind the harvesters and picked up whatever scraps of grain they dropped. She was eating leftovers from someone else's harvest. She was on her hands and knees in the dirt, collecting what others did not want. This is the part of the story that most people rush past. They want to get to Boaz. They want to get to the romance, the redemption, the happy ending. But I want to stay here for a moment. In the field, on her knees, in the dirt. Because this is where you are. Maybe not literally, but spiritually, emotionally, this is your field. You are gleaning. You are collecting small moments of hope from a world that seems to be giving its best harvests to everyone else. You are showing up every day, faithful, quiet, unseen, doing the work of staying alive when everything inside you wants to sit down and stop. And you need to hear this. God sees the field. He has always seen the field. And He is about to do something in your field that will make every day of gleaning worth it. Because here is the part of Ruth's story that most people miss entirely. Ruth did not go looking for Boaz. She did not set up a dating profile. She did not position herself strategically. She did not even know he existed. She went to the field to work, to survive, to be faithful to the path she had chosen, even when that path offered no visible reward. And Boaz noticed her. Not because she was performing, not because she was advertising herself. He noticed her because her faithfulness was visible. The owner of the field saw a woman who showed up before dawn, a woman who worked without complaint, a woman who carried herself with a dignity that did not match her circumstances. And something stirred in him. He asked his workers, "Who is that woman?" And when they told him she was a foreigner, a widow, a nobody by the standards of the world, he did not look away. He walked toward her. And the first thing he said to her was this: "Stay in my field. Do not go to anyone else's field. You are safe here." Do you understand what just happened? She did not find him. God placed her in his field. She was not searching for love. She was being faithful in the middle of loss, and love found her. And this is the pattern I see in your life. You have not been sitting idle in your waiting season. You have been gleaning. You have been showing up. You have been faithful in small things when no one was watching, when no one was clapping, when the only audience was God Himself. And that faithfulness, the kind that shows up in the dark with no guarantee of daylight, that is exactly the frequency that draws what God has prepared for you. Your daily obedience, going to work, taking care of your health, staying kind when you could be bitter, choosing growth when you could choose numbness, that is you in the field. And somewhere, in a place you cannot see from where you are standing, someone is going to ask about you. Someone is going to notice what the world overlooked. Someone is going to say, "Who is this person, and why do they carry something that I have never seen before?" And they are going to walk toward you, not because you performed, because you were faithful. The reason God allowed that specific person, the one from your past, to hurt you, the reason that relationship had to end the way it did, it is the same reason Ruth had to lose her first husband. The first season had to complete before the ordained season could begin. The field you are gleaning in right now is not the field of leftover love. It is the field where your Boaz is already watching. And the first chapter of your story had to close, no matter how painful the closing was, so that this chapter could open. Now, I want to shift from Ruth's story to yours, because something was happening during those lonely years, those difficult seasons, those nights that felt pointless and empty, something you could not see at the time, but I can show you now. God was not just keeping you single. He was building something inside you, constructing qualities and capacities and depths that can only be formed in one environment, and that environment is solitude. I want to name 5 specific things that were being built in you during the season you thought was wasted, and I want you to listen carefully, because these 5 things are not random. They are the exact qualities that your soulmate needs you to carry when they arrive. The first thing that was built in your solitude is self-knowledge without a mirror. Most people only know themselves through the reflection of a partner. They define their preferences, their moods, their needs through the lens of another person. But you, because you have been alone long enough, you know yourself without anyone else in the room. You know what you want. You know what you will not tolerate. You know your rhythms, your triggers, your non-negotiables. And that depth of self-awareness is not a byproduct of loneliness. It is a foundation stone for a relationship that will not crumble under pressure. Because when you know who you are before someone else enters the picture, you do not lose yourself when love arrives. You bring a whole person to the table instead of a half person looking for completion. The second thing that was built is emotional independence that creates healthy interdependence. And this is important. There is a difference between someone who is alone and desperate and someone who is alone and whole. Desperate people attach quickly, cling tightly, and suffocate the very thing they want most. But whole people, people who have learned to comfort themselves, to sit with their own pain, to carry their own weight, they enter relationships not from need, but from overflow. And overflow love is the only kind that lasts. It does not drain the other person, it fills both cups. Your loneliness taught you how to hold your own cup. And that means when someone finally arrives, you will not hand them a cup that is empty and say, "Fill this." You will hand them a cup that is already running over and say, "Let me pour into yours too." The third thing is spiritual sensitivity deepened by quiet. In a crowded relationship, it is hard to hear God's voice. There is always noise, always negotiation, always the hum of another person's energy in the room. But in solitude, the frequency becomes clear. Your prayer life deepened, your intuition sharpened. Your ability to discern the difference between God's voice and your own fear, that was refined in the silence. And that sensitivity is going to be critical in your relationship, because you will need to hear God's guidance when decisions arise that logic alone cannot solve. The fourth thing is standards refined by pain. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every almost relationship that fell apart, each one taught you something specific about what you will and will not accept. Your standards did not get higher because you became arrogant. They got higher because you learned through experience what love is not, and that clarity, painful as it was to acquire, will protect you from ever settling again. You carry a blueprint now, not a fantasy. A blueprint built from real data, real heartbreak, real lessons. And that blueprint will help you recognize the real thing instantly when it stands in front of you. And the fifth thing, maybe the most important, is capacity for presence sharpened by absence. Because you have known what it feels like to have no one beside you, you will never take for granted the person who finally is. You will not scroll through your phone while they are talking. You will not half listen while thinking about something else. You will be present, fully present, because you know the exact weight of an empty chair. And that presence, that ability to truly be with someone, is the rarest gift a human being can offer another, and it was forged in the fire of your aloneness. These 5 qualities, self-knowledge, emotional independence, spiritual sensitivity, refined standards, and capacity for presence, are not consolation prizes for being alone. They are the exact materials God needed you to carry into the relationship He is preparing. You were not wasting time. You were under construction, and the construction required specific conditions that could only exist in solitude. Let me tell you a short story. There was a woman who waited 11 years for her person, not because she was passive, not because she was hiding, because what was being built required 11 years of foundation. She almost settled in year 4 with a man who looked right on paper but felt wrong in her spirit. She almost settled again in year 7 with someone who was kind but could not match her depth. And each time, something inside her, that divine filter I mentioned earlier, pulled her back. In year 11, she met someone in the most ordinary way imaginable. A mutual friend introduced them at a small gathering. Nothing dramatic, no fireworks. But within 30 seconds of conversation, something ancient stirred. She later described it as the feeling of finally exhaling after holding her breath for a decade. He was not what she had pictured. He was better, not because he was perfect, but because he was specific. Specific to her wounds, specific to her gifts, specific to her frequency. And every single year of waiting had been preparing her to recognize him when he finally appeared. Now, here is where I need to take you one level deeper, because everything I have described so far, the loneliness, the heartbreak, the formation, it has all been about what God was doing inside you. But there is another side of this equation, and it is the side that most people never think about. While God was building something in you, He was building something in them too. Your soulmate, the person God is preparing for you, has not been sitting on a shelf somewhere waiting to be delivered. They have been in their own furnace, their own wilderness, their own field of gleaning. They have been carrying their own ache, asking their own version of that same question. Is it ever going to be my turn? And God has been shaping them in the same way He has been shaping you. Think about that for a moment. While you were lying awake at 2 in the morning wondering if love was real, somewhere in this world, another person was lying awake with the same ache. While you were learning self-knowledge through solitude, they were learning their own version of it. While your standards were being refined through heartbreak, theirs were being refined through their own disappointments. While you were developing the capacity for presence through absence, they were developing the capacity to receive the kind of presence you carry. This is what I call parallel preparation, and it is one of the most extraordinary things about how God works. He does not prepare one person and then go find a match. He prepares both people simultaneously, in separate furnaces, through separate fires, at the same pace, so that when the moment of convergence finally comes, both people arrive ready. Not one ready and the other catching up, both. at the same time. You can see this pattern in every major love story in sacred scripture. Boaz was being positioned in the field at the same time Ruth was being prepared on the road. Esther was being groomed in the palace at the same time the king's heart was being turned. Isaac's servant was traveling at the exact pace that would bring him to the well. At the exact moment Rebekah arrived. God is not random. God is not improvising. There is a choreography to this that is so precise, so deliberate, so beautifully timed, that when you finally see the full picture, you will understand why every single delay was necessary. Not a single day was wasted. Every day you waited, they waited too. Every wound you healed, they healed a wound of their own. Every prayer you whispered into the dark was met by a prayer they whispered into their own dark. And your timelines are converging. Not in a vague, maybe someday sense, in a real, the distance is closing sense. The preparation that has taken years for both of you is reaching its completion, and the signs of that completion are not hidden. They are everywhere, in your body, in your dreams, in your circumstances, in the strange peace that has been washing over you at unexpected moments, in the relationships that have been falling away without explanation, in the shift you have been sensing but have not had words for. Let me say something about that shift, about the feeling you have been carrying lately that something is different, something is moving, something is close. That feeling is not wishful thinking. It is not your imagination playing tricks on a lonely heart. That feeling is the spiritual equivalent of what happens when two people are walking toward each other from opposite ends of a long road. Long before they can see each other, they feel the vibration of approaching footsteps. The ground knows, and your spirit knows. You have been feeling it, that strange mix of restlessness and peace. The restlessness is your spirit sensing that the season is about to change. The peace is God's confirmation that the change is already underway. And this unique spiritual frequency that you carry, the one that has been calibrated through every heartbreak and every lonely night, and every moment of choosing not to settle, this frequency is so specific, so individually yours, that some believe it can actually be perceived by those with deep spiritual sensitivity. Not predicted, not guessed at, perceived. The way a tuning fork recognizes its exact harmonic match. I will come back to this later. For now, hold that thought, because what comes next is the evidence, the actual specific observable signs that this shift is not something I am inventing to comfort you. It is something already happening in your life. 30 signs. And I am going to walk you through every single one of them. You are standing in the field. You have been faithful. And what you cannot see yet, but what I am about to make visible, is that the owner of the field is already watching. Chosen one, most people left this message a long time ago. But you stayed. You stayed through the pain, through the memories of heartbreak, through the grief of what was lost, and the naming of what was built. That is not casual. Something inside you recognizes that what comes next is meant specifically for you. And what comes next changes everything. Because now we leave the past behind. We step out of the wilderness and into the present moment, right here, right now, where you are sitting or standing or lying down as you hear these words. And I want to make something clear before I begin. What I am about to share with you is not theory. It is not a list of things that might happen someday. These are signs that are already present in your life. Some of them you have noticed but could not explain. Some of them have been happening so quietly that you dismissed them as coincidence. And some of them are so deeply woven into your daily experience that you have stopped seeing them altogether, the way you stop noticing the hum of a refrigerator because it has been running so long. But the hum is there, and it means something. There is one sign among all the others that I believe is the most powerful confirmation of all. I will reveal it before this section ends. But first, I need to walk you through the full picture, because each sign builds on the one before it, and the final one will not land the way it needs to unless you have seen the whole landscape. Let us begin with what is happening inside you, the signs that live in your body, your emotions, and your spirit. The first internal sign is one you may have been confused by, maybe even a little unsettled by. You have been dreaming about someone you have never met. Not every night, not always clearly, but there have been moments in your sleep where a presence appeared, someone whose face you could not quite see, whose name you did not know, but whose energy felt so familiar that waking up felt like being pulled away from something real. These are not ordinary dreams. They do not carry the chaos and randomness of normal sleep imagery. They carry a strange peace, a warmth, a sense of being held by someone who knows you in ways that go deeper than words. And when you wake from these dreams, there is a residue. Not sadness, not longing exactly, more like an echo, as if your spirit spent the night somewhere else and came back carrying the scent of a place it recognized. If this has been happening to you, it is not your subconscious playing tricks on a lonely heart. It is your spirit becoming familiar with a frequency that is approaching. The way the air changes before a storm arrives, the way birds go quiet before the rain, your dreams are registering the approach of something your waking mind has not yet been able to perceive. The second internal sign is sudden emotional releases that seem to come from nowhere. You are doing something ordinary, washing dishes, driving, listening to a song you have heard 100 times, and out of nowhere your eyes fill with tears, not from sadness, not from pain, from something you cannot name, a tenderness that rises from deep inside your chest and overflows before you can stop it. This has been happening more frequently, and it confuses you because there is no obvious trigger. Nothing sad happened, nothing changed, but something inside you is softening, opening, making room. And the tears are not a sign of weakness or emotional instability. They are the sound of walls coming down. Walls that you built to protect yourself from heartbreak. Walls that served you well in the wilderness season, but walls that now need to come down because what is approaching cannot enter a fortress. It can only enter an open heart. If you have been crying without explanation, your heart is preparing to receive. The third internal sign is a deepening of your standards that surprises even you. Things you once tolerated in relationships, things you once talked yourself into accepting because you were tired of waiting, those things have become impossible to accept now. The bar has not just risen, it has fundamentally changed. You are no longer asking, can I live with this person? You are asking, can I grow with this person? Can I pray with this person? Can I build something eternal with this person? And the world might look at your standards and call them too high. People around you might say you are being unrealistic, that you need to compromise, that no one is perfect. But something inside you, something that is not negotiable, knows the difference between high standards and holy standards. Your standards are not a wall keeping love out. They are a gate, and only the right person carries the key. The fourth sign is a paradox, and it is this. You are becoming more comfortable being alone at the exact same time that your desire for partnership is deepening. Both things are true simultaneously, and they do not contradict each other. You have built a life that works. You have routines, friendships, purpose, and a relationship with God that sustains you. And if someone told you today that you would be single for the rest of your life, you would grieve it, but you would survive it. You would be okay. And that is precisely the point. Because God does not bring your soulmate into a life of desperation. He brings them into a life of wholeness. The fact that you are okay without them is not a sign that you do not need them. It is a sign that you are ready for them, ready in the only way that matters, from a place of fullness rather than emptiness, from overflow rather than lack. If you have noticed this paradox in yourself, the growing peace with aloneness alongside the deepening ache for companionship, you are not confused, you are complete, and completeness is the prerequisite for divine partnership. The fifth internal sign comes in flashes. You do not control it. You do not summon it. It arrives unannounced, stays for a moment, and then passes. It is a sudden, absolute certainty that someone is coming. Not hope, not optimism, not the kind of positive thinking you generate by reading an inspiring quote. This is different. This is a knowing that drops into your body like a stone into still water and sends ripples through every cell. For a few seconds, maybe a few minutes, you know beyond any doubt that your person exists, that they are real, that the distance between you is shrinking. And then the doubt returns. The logic returns. The voice in your head says you are making things up, that you are setting yourself up for disappointment, that knowing without evidence is just another name for delusion. But I want you to notice something. The doubt comes from your mind. The knowing comes from somewhere deeper. And the fact that the knowing keeps returning, despite every logical argument against it, tells you something about its source. Fear is loud and repetitive, but knowing is quiet and persistent. It does not shout, it simply refuses to leave. Pay attention to the knowing. It is speaking truth. The sixth internal sign is physical, and this one might be the most surprising. You have been experiencing sensations in your body that have no medical explanation. A warmth that spreads across your chest at random moments, as if someone placed their hand over your heart. A tingling in your palms. A feeling of being watched over, not in a threatening way, but in a protective way, as if someone who loves you is standing just outside your field of vision. Some of you have felt a phantom presence beside you at night, not frightening, comforting, as if the bed beside you is being kept warm by someone who is not there yet, but whose energy has already arrived ahead of them. Your body is a receiver, and it is picking up a signal that your conscious mind has not decoded yet. The warmth, the tingling, the presence, these are not your imagination. These are your physical body responding to an energetic shift that has already begun in the spiritual realm. Those are the internal signs, 6 markers happening inside you right now that confirm something is shifting at the deepest level of your being. But the signs do not stop at your skin. They extend outward into your circumstances, your environment, and the events unfolding around you. And these external signs are often even harder to dismiss because they are observable, concrete, and verifiable. The first external sign is one you have probably already noticed, but did not connect to your love life. Toxic relationships have been falling away from you without your effort. People who once had access to your time, your energy, your emotional space, they have been drifting away, or they have been removed through conflict, through distance, through a natural fading that happened so gradually you barely registered it. You might have felt hurt by some of these departures. You might have wondered what you did wrong or why people you once cared about suddenly felt distant. But here is the truth. God removes interference before he sends the blessing. He clears the table before he sets the feast. Every person who left your life in the past months or years was not abandoning you. They were making room. And the reason this matters for your love story is simple. Your soulmate cannot enter a life that is crowded with the wrong energies. There has to be space, emotional space, relational space, spiritual space for them to fit. And God, in his thoroughness, has been creating that space whether you asked for it or not. The second external sign is new environments opening around you. Maybe you have felt an unexplained urge to change something in your physical world, a desire to move to a different neighborhood, an impulse to join a new group, a new community, a new workplace. Or maybe the change has been happening to you without your choosing, a job transfer, a lease ending, a door closing that forced you through a door you did not plan to open. These shifts in environment are not random disruptions, they are positioning. God is moving you geographically, socially, and professionally into the vicinity of what he has prepared. You do not need to know the exact address, you just need to follow the pull. The pull is the compass, and it has been recalibrated for a destination you cannot see yet, but that already has your name on it. The third external sign involves your finances, and this one often catches people off guard because they do not associate money with love. But here is the connection. There has been a stabilization happening in your financial life. Maybe not a windfall, maybe not a dramatic breakthrough, but a settling. A sense of things clicking into place, bills getting paid more easily, unexpected provision showing up, a slow but steady building of a foundation that looks less like survival and more like sustainability. God builds foundations before he adds weight, and a relationship, a real, lasting, God-ordained partnership, carries weight. It requires resources, stability, and the capacity to build together. If your financial life has been quietly stabilizing, even in small ways, it is because the foundation is being laid for something that requires two. The fourth external sign is one that might seem counterintuitive. Old wounds have been surfacing, not new pain, old pain. Things you thought you had dealt with years ago, childhood wounds, family patterns, deep insecurities that you buried under layers of healing and personal growth, they have been rising to the surface again. And it might feel like regression. It might feel like you are going backward instead of forward. But you are not going backward. This is the final pass. Think of it like cleaning a house before an important guest arrives. You sweep the floors you already swept. You check the corners you already checked. Not because the house was dirty, but because the guest is significant enough to warrant one last thorough inspection. God is surfacing these old wounds, not because you failed to heal them the first time, but because there are layers of healing that can only happen right before the next season opens. These wounds are not returning to stay. They are returning to leave, permanently, so that when your soulmate arrives, they are not met by your unresolved past. They are met by you. The fifth sign is a change in your experience of time. Days have started to feel different, not slower exactly, and not faster in the frantic way, fuller, more textured, as if each day contains more substance than it used to. You are noticing things you used to overlook, the quality of light in the morning, the kindness of a stranger, the taste of your coffee, the sound of rain on the window. It is as if your senses have been dialed up, and the ordinary world has become somehow more vivid. This is not random. When a person is approaching the end of a significant spiritual season, their perception shifts. The heightened awareness you are experiencing is your spirit waking up to the richness of the present moment, because the present moment is becoming important. This is where your life is about to change, and your body knows it. The sixth external sign is something you might not have connected to your own story. You have been encountering healthy, loving couples more frequently, not in a way that triggers jealousy like it used to. In a way that feels almost instructional. You notice them at the grocery store, laughing together over something small. You see them at a park, walking in comfortable silence. You observe their ease, their respect, their quiet togetherness, and instead of the old pang of envy, you feel something new. You feel a strange sense of familiarity, as if you are watching a preview of your own future. This shift from jealousy to observation, from envy to recognition, is one of the clearest signs that your internal preparation is complete. You are no longer threatened by what others have because you know, somewhere deep in your bones, that what is coming for you is not a copy of their story. It is your own. The seventh external sign involves what I can only describe as meaningful coincidences that have increased in frequency and specificity. You see the same number sequences repeatedly, 2, 22, 11, 11, and they show up at moments when you are thinking about love or asking God about your future. Content about relationships appears in front of you without you searching for it. Songs play at exact moments when their lyrics answer a question you were silently asking. Someone says a phrase that mirrors the exact words you were thinking 10 seconds earlier. These are not glitches. These are synchronicities. And synchronicities are the language God uses when words are not enough. They are breadcrumbs on the trail, and the trail leads forward. Now, I want to give you something practical before we move into the next layer of signs, because I know that some of you are hearing all of this, and a part of you is asking, but how do I know these are real signs and not just wishful thinking? That is a fair question. And here is a simple framework you can use to test any sign you are experiencing. There are 3 tests. The first is consistency. A real sign does not appear once and disappear. It repeats. It shows up across different contexts, different days, different moods. If something is happening consistently, not just on the days when you feel hopeful, but also on the days when you feel doubtful, pay attention. Consistency is the fingerprint of divine communication. The second test is alignment with character growth. A genuine sign of preparation always correlates with internal growth. If the signs you are noticing are accompanied by you becoming a better, stronger, more whole person, they are real. But if a sign only appears when you are in a state of desperation or emotional crisis and disappears when you are grounded, be cautious. God's signs do not manipulate your emotions. They confirm your growth. The third test is the peace test. Real signs produce peace, not anxiety. When God is confirming something, the confirmation settles you. It grounds you. It makes you feel held. If something you interpret as a sign produces obsession, anxiety, or frantic energy, it may be your own desire speaking rather than divine direction. The voice of God is calm. The voice of fear is urgent. Learn the difference, and you will never be misled. Use these 3 tests on everything I have shared so far: consistency, growth, alignment, peace. If the signs in your life pass all 3, you are not imagining things. You are receiving confirmation. And the external signs I just described, the relationships falling away, the new environments, the financial shifts, the surfacing wounds, the heightened perception, the encounter with healthy couples, the synchronicities, these are all arrows pointing in one direction. But the signs do not stop here, because there is a third category that goes even deeper into how the people around you are changing their behavior toward you, often without even knowing why. That is what I want to show you next. There is a strange phenomenon that happens when God is about to shift your love story. The people around you start behaving differently, not because you told them anything, not because they know what is happening in the spiritual realm, but because they are responding to something they can feel but cannot explain. And these relational signs are some of the most fascinating confirmations you will ever receive, because they come from outside your own head, which means they cannot be explained away as wishful thinking. The first relational sign is a shift in how couples in your life relate to you. Friends who are married or in committed relationships have started inviting you into their world differently, not out of pity. That is how it used to feel when someone set you up on a blind date or made that awkward comment about finding someone for you. This is different. They are including you in conversations about partnership, about marriage, about building a life together, not because they feel sorry for you, but because something in their spirit recognizes you as someone who belongs in that conversation. They are treating you like a person who is about to join the club, even though nothing on the outside has changed yet. Pay attention to this. When people who have what you want start instinctively pulling you closer, it is because your frequency has shifted into alignment with theirs. You are no longer on the outside looking in. You are on the threshold, and they can sense it. The second relational sign is something quieter, but equally powerful. Family members have begun asking about your love life with a new kind of seriousness. Not the usual teasing or the predictable holiday question of, so when are you going to settle down? This is different. A parent, a sibling, an aunt, someone in your family has looked at you recently with something in their eyes that was closer to knowing than curiosity. They asked how you were doing in a way that suggested they already sensed the answer. Or they said something out of nowhere, something like, "I have a feeling your season is changing, and it landed in your chest like a stone because you had been thinking the exact same thing. Families operate on shared spiritual frequencies. They pick up on shifts in each other before the shifts become visible. If your family has been unusually attentive to your romantic future lately, they are not being nosy. They are receiving the same signal you are receiving, just from a different angle. The third relational sign involves new people. You have been meeting individuals who feel significant in a way you cannot explain. Not romantic, not yet, but important. Bridge people, connectors. Someone who showed up in your life recently and brought with them a sense of expansion, as if their presence opened a door you did not know existed. These are not random encounters. In God's choreography, the people who arrive in the season before your soulmate are often the ones who will, directly or indirectly, create the connection. They are the Naomis who lead you to the field, the Mordecais who position you near the palace. They do not look like Cupid. They look like an ordinary new friend, a co-worker, a neighbor, someone at a gathering, but the energy they carry is a bridge, and you are being invited to cross it. The fourth relational sign is the resurfacing of past connections. People from your history have been reappearing, not all of them, specific ones. An ex who reaches out after years of silence. An old friend who suddenly wants to reconnect. Someone from a chapter you thought was closed who shows up uninvited in your inbox or your thoughts. And I want to be very clear about what this means and what it does not mean. These reappearances are not invitations to go backward. They are not signs that you should rekindle something that already burned out. They are closures. Final chapters. The universe bringing old stories back to the surface so that you can officially close the book, lay it on the shelf, and walk into the next room with both hands free. If someone from your past has reappeared recently, ask yourself this question. Does their presence create peace, or does it create confusion? If it creates peace, it may be an opportunity to forgive, to release, to say a quiet goodbye to what was. If it creates confusion, it is a test, and the correct answer is to keep walking forward. The fifth relational sign is one of the most beautiful and unexpected. Authority figures, mentors, spiritual leaders, or people you respect have started speaking blessing over your love life without you asking. A pastor mentions something during a service that feels aimed directly at you. A mentor says, "I do not know why, but I feel like your romantic season is about to shift." A friend who rarely talks about spiritual things suddenly tells you they had a dream about you, and it involved a wedding or a partner. When multiple people begin speaking the same word over the same area of your life without coordinating with each other, that is confirmation from the heavens. God does not always speak to you directly. Sometimes He speaks about you through the mouths of people who have no idea they are being used as messengers. And I want to pause here and expand the frame for a moment, because what I have been describing, these relational shifts, these environmental changes, these internal and external signs, they are not happening only to you. Right now, all across the world, chosen ones are experiencing this exact same pattern of preparation. This is not an isolated event. It is a collective shift. Something is happening in the spiritual realm that is activating soulmate connections on a scale that goes beyond any individual story. You are part of a generation of divine partnerships being assembled, not randomly, but with the precision and timing that only God can orchestrate. So when you feel alone in this waiting, I want you to remember that somewhere right now, another chosen one is hearing a message like this and feeling the same spark of recognition in their chest. Somewhere right now, another person is looking at the signs in their life and wondering if they are real. Somewhere right now, your person is being prepared at the exact same pace you are being prepared. And the convergence is not slowing down, it is accelerating. You are not waiting alone. You have never been waiting alone. Now, I want to take you into the fourth category of signs, And this one is the most intimate, because these signs do not live in your circumstances or in other people's behavior. They live in your emotions, in the quiet, unguarded spaces of your heart where you are most honest with yourself. The first emotional sign is something strange and beautiful. You have been feeling sudden waves of love for complete strangers. Not romantic love, something bigger. You see an elderly couple holding hands in the parking lot, and your eyes sting. You watch a father gently carrying his sleeping child, and your chest opens. A stranger smiles at you for no reason, and you feel a rush of warmth that seems out of proportion to the moment. Your heart is expanding, not because you decided to be more loving, because your capacity is being stretched from the inside. God is widening the chamber to hold what is coming, and the overflow is spilling out in every direction, toward strangers, toward friends, toward the world. You are becoming a person who is so full of love that it leaks out of you before you even try. The second emotional sign is a decrease in jealousy that has happened so gradually you almost missed it. Think back to a year ago, 2 years ago. When you saw a couple that had what you wanted, what did you feel? Probably a sharp sting, a tightening in your stomach, an inner voice that said, "Why them and not me?" Now think about the last time you saw a happy couple. What did you feel? If the sting has been replaced by something softer, something that looks more like genuine happiness for their happiness, that shift is one of the most profound signs of readiness. Because jealousy is the language of scarcity. It says there is not enough love to go around, and someone else got your portion. But when jealousy begins to dissolve, it is because your spirit has moved from scarcity to abundance. You are no longer afraid that someone else's love diminishes yours. You know, at a level deeper than thought, that what is meant for you cannot be taken by anyone else. The third emotional sign is specific triggers during songs, movies, or conversations about love. Not a general sentimentality, specific moments. A certain lyric hits you like a wave. A scene in a movie makes you cry in a way that feels like prayer. Someone says something casual about their relationship, and your body responds as if they were speaking directly to your situation. These triggers are not weakness, they are resonance. Your spirit is tuning into the frequency of partnership, and every time something in the external world matches that frequency, your body vibrates in response. It is the same principle as a tuning fork. Strike one fork, and every fork in the room that shares its frequency will begin to hum. Your fork has been struck, and everything around you that matches is humming. The fourth emotional sign might be the hardest to describe, but I believe you will recognize it instantly. You have been feeling pregnant with something, not physically, spiritually. There is a fullness inside you that has no visible cause, a sense that you are carrying something that has not been born yet, something growing in the invisible. And you cannot point to it, or name it, or show it to anyone, but it is there, heavy and light at the same time, full of potential, full of becoming. This is the spiritual equivalent of what happens before any new life enters the world. There is a period of gestation, a period where the thing is real, but not yet visible. Your soulmate connection exists. It is real, it is growing, and you are carrying it in your spirit, the way a mother carries a child, not yet able to hold it in your arms, but able to feel every movement. The fifth emotional sign is perhaps the most freeing. Forgiveness has been moving through you without effort. Old bitterness toward people who hurt you, resentment toward the ex who betrayed your trust, anger at God for the length of the waiting season, these have been dissolving. Not because you forced yourself to forgive, not because you sat down with a journal and worked through 27 steps of emotional processing. It has been happening organically, like ice melting in spring. You woke up one day and realized the anger was smaller. Then another day, and it was smaller still. And now, some of it is simply gone. This is not you being strong. This is God clearing the final debris. Because unforgiveness is a chain, and chains are incompatible with the freedom of divine love. The fact that forgiveness is flowing through you without force means the chains are being removed. And when the chains are gone, you will be free to love with your whole heart, not just the parts that were not damaged. The sixth emotional sign is the most tender of all. You have been learning to love yourself. And I do not mean in the self-help Instagram caption way. I mean in the real way. The way where you catch yourself being gentle with your own mistakes, where you stop apologizing for taking up space, where you look in the mirror and instead of a list of flaws, you see someone who has survived things that would have broken most people. And you feel something that might be, for the first time, genuine tenderness toward the person looking back at you. This self-love is not a destination, it is practice. Practice for being loved by someone who will see you the way you are just now learning to see yourself. God is teaching you how to receive before He sends the one who will give. And this brings me to something I want to share with you that connects everything I have been saying about signs and frequencies and the specific energy that makes you who you are. Throughout this message, I have talked about your frequency, your unique energetic signature, the specific vibration that has been calibrated through every heartbreak, every lonely night, every moment of choosing not to settle. This frequency is what makes you recognizable to your soulmate and what makes them recognizable to you. It is the reason the moment of meeting will not feel like meeting a stranger. It will feel like remembering someone you already knew. Now, here is what I want you to consider. This frequency, this spiritual signature that defines who you are and who you are meant to connect with, is so specific that those with heightened spiritual sensitivity can actually perceive it, not as a vague feeling, as a clear enough impression that it can be translated into a visual form. There are gifted psychic artists, specifically clairvoyant artists, who work with the energy of your birth chart and your spiritual vibration, who can create a portrait of the person whose frequency matches yours. It is called a soulmate sketch, and it is not fortune-telling, it is not guesswork, it is the visualization of an energetic connection that already exists in the spiritual realm. Now, I want to be honest with you, because honesty is the foundation of everything in this message. This is not something you need. Everything I have shared with you today, every sign, every teaching, every framework, that is yours to keep regardless of whether you ever pursue this or not. The signs are already in your life. The preparation is already underway. A sketch does not make it more real than it already is. But for some of you, there is a pull, something that stirred when I mentioned this. And if that pull is there, I trust it. Because a private spiritual reading of this depth would typically cost hundreds of dollars. This is available for less than the price of your morning coffee. And there is a complete 60-day money-back guarantee if you do not feel a genuine connection to what you receive. One warning, and this is important. There are many imitation sites now using AI-generated faces, fake portraits with no spiritual connection behind them. If you are going to do this, do it through the only link I trust, which is in the pinned comment below this message. That is the only door I can vouch for. And if this is not for you, if your spirit says not now, respect that completely. Hold on to the signs, hold on to the prayer, hold on to the truth that God is already moving. That is more than enough. Now, the signs I have shown you so far, the internal, the external, the relational, the emotional, these are all arrows, and they are all pointing in one direction. But there is one final category that goes deeper than all the others. This is where God speaks most directly, not through your body, not through your circumstances, not through other people, through your spirit. The spiritual signs are the ones that cannot be debated, cannot be rationalized away, and cannot be explained by psychology or coincidence. And they are the reason I asked you to stay with me through all of this. Because everything I have shared so far was preparation for what comes next. And before this message ends, I am going to speak something directly over your love life. A declaration and a prayer that I believe will mark a turning point for you. Stay with me through what comes next, because we are approaching the part of this message that will stay with you longest. The spiritual signs. This is where we cross from the observable into the sacred, because everything I have shown you so far, the internal shifts, the external circumstances, the relational changes, the emotional openings, all of those can be analyzed, discussed, even debated. But what I am about to share with you now lives in a territory that does not bow to logic. It does not need your permission to be real. It simply is. And I need to tell you, this is the category of signs where most people either lean all the way in or pull all the way back. There is very little middle ground when God speaks directly. So I am going to ask you to set aside the part of your brain that needs to explain everything and simply listen with the part of you that already knows. The first spiritual sign is one you may have noticed in your prayer life or your scripture reading. Specific passages about partnership, about union, about two becoming one, have been jumping out at you with unusual force. You might be reading something you have read 50 times before, and suddenly a verse about love or covenant or divine connection hits you differently. It stops you. It sits in your chest. It feels less like reading and more like being read. This is not your imagination projecting your desires onto sacred text. When God wants to speak to you about a specific area of your life, He illuminates the words that apply. The same passage you read last year without feeling anything now burns in your hands because your season has changed and the words are meeting you where you are, not where you were. If scripture about love has been finding you lately, even when you were not looking for it, pay attention. God is underlining. The second spiritual sign is a shift in the content of your prayers that happened without you planning it. At some point, without consciously deciding to change your approach, your prayers shifted from, God, send me someone to God, prepare me. From, give me what I want, to make me ready for what you have. That shift is not a small thing. It is one of the most significant markers of spiritual readiness there is. Because when you stop asking God to change your circumstances and start asking Him to change you, you have crossed a threshold. You have moved from the posture of demand to the posture of surrender. And surrender is the doorway through which every God-ordained blessing enters. Think about it. You did not wake up one morning and decide, I am going to stop begging and start preparing. It happened organically, slowly, like a river changing direction so gradually that you did not notice until you realized you were flowing a completely different way. And the fact that it happened without force means it came from the Spirit, not from willpower. God Himself shifted the direction of your prayers because your spirit was ready for the next level of trust. The third spiritual sign comes from other people's mouths, prophetic words, unprompted, from multiple sources about your love life. Not one person saying one thing one time. Multiple people in different contexts saying variations of the same message. A friend says, I do not know why, but I feel like God told me to tell you that your waiting is almost over. A stranger in a worship service turns to you and says something about your heart being prepared for a great love. A pastor preaches a sermon that feels like it was written specifically for your situation. A family member who never talks about spiritual things suddenly looks at you and says, I just have this sense that everything is about to change for you. When one person says it, it could be kindness. When two people say it, it is a pattern. When three or more people say essentially the same thing without knowing each other, without coordinating, without any reason to say it, other than the fact that something beyond them compelled the words out of their mouths, that is, God confirming through witnesses what He has already decided in the spiritual realm. The fourth spiritual sign involves numbers, and I know this can be a sensitive area, so I want to approach it with honesty. You have been seeing specific number sequences with unusual frequency, particularly numbers associated with partnership and divine union. 2, 22, 11, 11, 333. They appear on clocks, on receipts, on license plates, on page numbers, and they show up at moments that are too precisely timed to be random. You glance at the clock at exactly 2:22, right after praying about your love life. You receive a receipt totaling $11.11 minutes after thinking about your soulmate. A phone number appears with a sequence you have been seeing for weeks. Now, I am not going to tell you that numbers themselves have magical power, but I am going to tell you that God uses patterns to communicate, and He uses the language of your attention. If you have been seeing the same numbers at the same emotionally significant moments, it is not because the universe is playing a math game. It is because God knows that patterns get your attention when words do not. He is tapping you on the shoulder with the language you are most likely to notice. The fifth spiritual sign is the most intimate. During prayer or deep worship, or in those moments of stillness where the noise of the world drops away, you have sensed a presence. Not just God's presence, though that is there, something else, something additional. As if during your most sacred moments, another person's spirit is being introduced to yours in the invisible. You cannot see them, you cannot name them, but you feel them. A warmth that has a different texture than the warmth of God's presence alone. A sense of someone standing beside you in the spiritual realm, not yet manifest, not yet physical, but present, real, close. This is not a hallucination. This is not loneliness disguised as mysticism. This is the spiritual realm, doing what it does before every major physical manifestation, previewing what is coming. Just as thunder comes before rain, just as dawn glows before the sun appears, your spirit is experiencing the approach of what your eyes will soon confirm. The sixth spiritual sign is one that might alarm you if you do not understand its meaning. You have experienced increased spiritual resistance, specifically around your love life. Increased doubt, increased fear, increased attacks on your worthiness, your faith, your hope. The enemy has been louder in the area of love than in any other area of your life. And here is why that is actually a sign of confirmation rather than a sign of defeat. Resistance is never random. It is strategic. The enemy does not waste energy attacking areas of your life where nothing is happening. He attacks where the breakthrough is imminent. If your love life has been under unusual spiritual pressure lately, if the doubts have been heavier, if the fear has been more aggressive, if the temptation to give up has been more persuasive than ever before, it is because what is coming is significant enough to warrant opposition. Think about it. If nothing was about to change, why would the enemy bother? He fights hardest at the gates that are about to open. And if the gates of your love story are under heavy attack right now, it is because those gates are about to swing wide. And now I want to share with you the one sign I mentioned at the beginning of this section. The one sign above all others that confirms everything I have said. It is this. You are hearing this message. That is the sign. The fact that out of millions of voices and millions of messages and millions of things competing for your attention right now, this is the one that found you. The fact that you did not scroll past it. The fact that something you cannot explain and did not plan, made you press play and kept you here through everything we have walked through together. Your spirit responded, your spirit recognized, your spirit said yes before your mind could say but. And that recognition, that deep inner yes, is the loudest sign of all. Because God does not deliver messages to people who are not ready to receive them. If you were not ready, this would not have reached you. If your season was not shifting, these words would have felt like noise. But they did not feel like noise. They felt like water on dry ground. They felt like someone finally saying what you have been carrying alone for years. That is not an accident. That is an appointment. You are ready. The signs are real, all 30 of them, internal, external, relational, emotional, spiritual. Every single one points in the same direction. Your waiting season was never empty. It was always full. Full of preparation, full of signs, full of a love that has been working on your behalf long before you could see it. Now you have seen the signs, you know where you are. But knowing the signs is not the same as knowing where they lead. And what I am about to show you next, chosen one, is the vision. What God-ordained love actually looks like, what the first meeting might feel like, and how the final phase of preparation completes. This is the part you have been waiting for. So let me ask you a question that might sound simple, but carries more weight than you realize. What do you think God-ordained love looks like? Because here is what I have found. Most chosen ones have been so focused on when love will arrive that they have not spent enough time understanding what it will look like when it gets here. And that gap, the gap between expectation and reality, is where disappointment lives. Not because God-ordained love is disappointing, far from it, but because it rarely looks like what the world taught you to expect. So let me paint the picture. Not the Hollywood version, not the fairy tale version, the real version, the version that lasts. There are 7 qualities that distinguish God-ordained love from everything else you have experienced. And if you carry these 7 markers with you, you will be able to recognize the real thing instantly and distinguish it from every counterfeit that tries to approach. The first quality is peace over passion. I know that sounds counterintuitive. We have been trained by movies and music to believe that love should feel like a roller coaster, that the heart should pound, the stomach should flip, and every moment should feel electrically charged. And while attraction is real and chemistry matters, God-ordained love does not announce itself primarily through adrenaline. It announces itself through peace. When you are with this person, something in your nervous system settles, your shoulders drop, your breath deepens. You do not feel like you are performing or auditioning or trying to be enough. You just feel held, not by them necessarily, by the rightness of it. The second quality is growth over comfort. A God-ordained partner is not someone who keeps you comfortable. They are someone who makes you grow. They challenge you. They see the areas where you are still hiding, and they gently, respectfully, lovingly invite you into the open. This does not mean they are harsh or critical. It means they are honest. And their honesty does not feel like an attack, because you can feel the love underneath it. You can feel that they are pushing you not away from them, but toward the fullest version of yourself. The third quality is mutual healing, not codependency. There is a difference that most people miss entirely. Codependency says, I need you to fix me. Mutual healing says your presence creates a space where my healing accelerates, and mine does the same for you. God-ordained love does not make you dependent. It makes you free. Free to heal. Free to grow. Free to be imperfect in front of someone who does not flinch at your scars because they have their own. The fourth quality is purpose over pleasure. This does not mean the relationship is not enjoyable. It means enjoyment is not the primary engine. The primary engine is shared purpose. You are building something together that is bigger than both of you. A family, a ministry, a business, a legacy, a way of living that reflects something sacred. And that shared mission creates a depth of bond that pure pleasure can never match, because pleasure fades with time, but purpose deepens with it. The fifth quality is freedom, not control. If you have come from toxic relationships, this is the one that will surprise you most. God-ordained love does not grip. It does not monitor. It does not require constant reassurance or create guilt when you need space. It holds with open hands. It trusts without surveillance. And the reason it can trust is not because both people are perfect, but because both people are surrendered to God and surrendered to the truth. And surrender does not need control because it already has something stronger, which is faith. The sixth quality is honesty without performance. In the wrong relationship, you wear a mask. You curate what you show. You manage how you are perceived because the cost of being fully seen feels too high. In God-ordained love, the mask comes off. Not all at once, gradually, safely. But it comes off, and the person across from you does not look away when they see what is underneath. They look closer because they recognize it, not because it is pretty, but because it is real. And realness, not perfection, is what their spirit was searching for. The seventh quality is spiritual alignment, and I saved this for last because it is the one that holds all the others together. Spiritual alignment does not mean you agree on every theological point. It does not mean you attend the same church or use the same vocabulary for God. It means you are pointed in the same direction. It means your spirits recognize each other as members of the same family. It means when you pray together, something amplifies, as if two frequencies that have been humming separately suddenly merge into a harmony that neither could produce alone. Now, I want to be careful here, chosen one. I am not painting a fairy tale. God-ordained love still requires work, communication, patience, forgiveness. There will be hard days. There will be misunderstandings. There will be moments where you look at each other and wonder what happened to the magic. That is normal. That is human. The difference is this. In God-ordained love, the difficulty has purpose. The hard conversation makes you stronger. The conflict reveals something that needed healing. Even the worst day does not shake the foundation, because the foundation is not built on feeling. It is built on covenant. God-ordained love does not complete you. Let me say that again, because the world has been telling you the opposite your entire life. It does not complete you. It reveals the completeness that was already built during your preparation. Everything you went through, the loneliness, the heartbreak, the formation, the solitude, it made you whole. And your soulmate does not fill a void. They stand beside a person who is already full and say, "Let us pour together." Now, let me show you something that most people never hear about. What the first meeting might actually look like. Because I think this matters. I think you have imagined this moment so many times that it has taken on a shape in your mind, a shape that might actually prevent you from recognizing it when it happens. So let me gently reshape the expectation. When Ruth met Boaz, it was not at a banquet, it was not at a festival, it was in a field, on a work day, while she was doing the most ordinary thing imaginable. She was picking up leftover grain from the ground. Her hands were dirty, her back was sore, she was not dressed up, she was not expecting anything, and Boaz was not scanning the field for a wife. He was managing his harvest. Two people, doing their normal lives, crossed paths because God orchestrated the timing down to the minute. Your first meeting will probably not be dramatic. It probably will not involve fireworks or slow-motion eye contact across a crowded room. It might be a Wednesday morning. It might be at a coffee shop where you go every week. It might be through a friend you just made 2 months ago, one of those bridge people I mentioned earlier. It might happen while you are in the middle of the most ordinary moment of the most ordinary day. And the recognition will not come from the outside. It will come from the inside. Something ancient in your spirit will stir, not a scream, not an explosion, a settling, a deep, quiet exhale. As if your soul has been holding its breath for years and suddenly remembers how to breathe. You might not even realize it immediately. It might take a second conversation, a third, a moment where they say something that unlocks a room inside you that has been closed so long you forgot it existed. And when it opens, you will not think I found them. You will think there you are. As if you are remembering someone you already knew in a place that exists before birth and after death. If you have been imagining a dramatic Hollywood entrance, release that expectation. What God sends is quieter, deeper, and far more real. And I want to give you something practical here, because the moment of first meeting, as beautiful as it will be, can also be the moment where past wounds try to sabotage what God is building. So here is a simple framework for discerning whether what you are feeling is genuine soul recognition or just old patterns of infatuation dressed up in new clothes. Ask yourself 3 questions. The first question is this: Does this person's presence make me feel safe, or does it make me feel anxious? Infatuation creates anxiety because it is rooted in performance and fear of loss. Soul recognition creates safety because it is rooted in truth. If your nervous system relaxes around this person, if you feel less guarded, not more, that is a marker worth paying attention to. The second question: am I attracted to who this person is? Or am I attracted to how this person makes me feel about myself? Infatuation is often about what the other person reflects back to you: validation, excitement, the thrill of being chosen. Soul recognition is about genuinely seeing the other person, their character, their wounds, their gifts, their essence, and being drawn to them, not to the mirror they hold up. The third question: does time with this person make me more myself or less myself? If you find yourself editing, curating, performing, shrinking, that is not soul recognition, that is adaptation. The real thing will make you more fully you, not less. You will find yourself saying things you have never said, laughing in ways you forgot you could, being honest in ways that should feel risky but somehow feel like breathing. That moment of recognition I just described, where something ancient says, "There you are," some people choose to carry a visual anchor for that moment. The Soulmate Sketch I mentioned earlier can serve as a kind of prayer made visible, a way of holding space for recognition before it arrives. Not as a prediction, as a point of spiritual focus. If that resonates, the link is in the pinned comment. If it does not, hold on to these 3 questions instead. They will serve you just as well. Now, you have seen the signs. You have seen the vision of what God-ordained love looks like. You have seen what the first meeting might feel like. But there is another piece of this that most people do not think about: the timeline. Where are you in the preparation process? How close are you to the moment of convergence? And what still needs to happen before that moment arrives? That is what comes next, and it matters more than you might expect. Let me walk you through something that will ground everything I have been sharing in a framework you can carry with you, because the signs are real. The vision is real. But understanding where you are in the timeline of preparation will help you move from passive waiting to active awareness. There are 5 phases that I have seen consistently in the stories of people whose divine partnerships finally manifested. 5 phases that repeat across sacred scripture, across personal testimonies, across every tradition that takes the idea of divine timing seriously. And I want to walk you through them so that you can locate yourself within the map. The first phase is awareness. This is the moment when you wake up to the fact that your loneliness is not random, that your waiting has a purpose, and that God is actively doing something in your love life even though you cannot see it yet. This phase is marked by a shift from blind frustration to conscious participation. You stop fighting the season and start asking what it means. And I will tell you honestly, if you are hearing this message and it is resonating, you are at minimum in phase 1. You have woken up. The fact that your spirit responded to these words means the awareness has been activated. The question is how deep into the process you actually are. The second phase is clearing. This is the season of removal. Relationships that do not serve your future fall away. Old wounds surface for final healing. Habits, patterns, and belief systems that are incompatible with divine partnership begin to break down. This phase can be painful because it feels like loss, but it is not loss, it is surgery. And the surgeon is removing only what cannot go with you into the next season. Many of the external signs I described earlier, the toxic relationships departing, the old wounds resurfacing, the financial restructuring, these are all markers of the clearing phase. And if you recognized yourself in those descriptions, you may already be deep into phase 2 or even beyond it. The third phase is alignment. This is where things start to feel different in a way that is hard to describe. It is the season where your internal frequency locks into place. The standards have been set. The self-knowledge has been gained. The emotional independence has been established. And now something clicks. You stop trying to become ready, and you simply are ready. You can feel it in the way you carry yourself, in the way fear no longer controls your decisions about love, in the way you can hold the vision of partnership and the reality of your current singleness simultaneously without tension. Alignment is quiet. It does not announce itself with trumpets. It shows up as peace, as steadiness, as a calm that replaces the old anxiety about when and how and who. And if you have been noticing that your anxiety about love has been decreasing, even though nothing in your circumstances has changed, you may be in the alignment phase right now. The fourth phase is the one most people do not talk about, and it is the most mysterious. It is called convergence. This is the phase where God begins moving practical circumstances, not just spiritual realities, physical ones, job changes, relocations, introductions that seem random but are anything but. This is the phase where the two parallel timelines, yours and your soulmate's, begin to curve toward each other. You will not always see convergence happening because much of it takes place behind the curtain. The friend who introduces you to a friend, the decision to visit a place you have never been, the last-minute change of plans that puts you in a specific location at a specific time. These are not accidents. They are the fingerprints of a God who orchestrates on the level of minutes and inches. And here is what makes this phase so extraordinary. You do not have to force it. You do not have to go hunting. You do not have to sign up for every dating app and attend every social event and exhaust yourself trying to be in the right place at the right time. Convergence is God's department. Your job in this phase is the same as it has been in every phase. Faithfulness. Show up to your life. Do the next right thing. Follow the nudges. Walk through the doors that open. And trust that the choreography is already in motion. The fifth phase is recognition. This is the meeting itself. The moment where two people who have been prepared separately are finally in the same room, the same coffee shop, the same conversation, and something in both of them says, "Oh, there you are." Recognition does not always happen instantly. Sometimes it unfolds over days or weeks. Sometimes it begins with a simple awareness that this person is different, that the usual walls do not feel necessary, that the conversation is easy in a way that goes beyond compatibility and touches something spiritual. But whether it happens in a flash or unfolds gradually, you will know it, because your entire preparation has been building toward this moment. Every sign, every heartbreak, every lonely night, every prayer, all of it was the road that led here. Now, I want to be honest with you, chosen one, because I have built this entire message on a foundation of honesty, and I will not stop now. I cannot tell you which phase you are in. I cannot tell you whether convergence begins tomorrow or 6 months from now. Only you and God know that. And anyone who claims they can give you a specific date or a guaranteed timeline is not telling you the truth. What I can tell you is the pattern. And the pattern, across every sacred story I have studied, across every testimony I have witnessed, across every life I have observed that walked through a long wilderness and came out the other side holding the hand of their person, the pattern is consistent. The preparation completes. The timelines converge. The recognition happens, not as a guarantee of your individual outcome, because I respect you too much to make promises I cannot keep, but as a principle that has proven reliable enough to build a life on. Think of it like a GPS that has been recalculating your route for years. Every wrong turn, every detour, every dead end that forced you to reverse, none of it was lost. The GPS was adjusting. And now the route is clearer than it has ever been, the estimated arrival is shorter than it has ever been, and the destination, the one that has had your name on it since before you were born, that destination has not moved. It has been waiting. Chosen one, you have been listening for hours now. That is not casual behavior. Something inside you has been activated, and I think you know it. Something that was dormant has started to stir. And what comes next is the part that will determine whether you walk into this new season carrying the weights of the old one or whether you finally set them down. So let me speak to the season itself, the one you are leaving, the winter. You have been living in winter for a long time, not the beautiful snow-covered, holiday card kind of winter, the real kind. The kind where the ground is frozen and nothing grows and the days are short, and the cold gets into your bones so deeply that you forget what warmth feels like. You adapted to winter. You learned to survive in it. You built a life inside it that functions and even has moments of beauty. But underneath the adaptation, you have been waiting for the thaw. And here is what I want you to see. The thaw has begun. Not dramatically. Not with a sudden heat wave that melts everything at once. The way spring always arrives, quietly, persistently, in small cracks and subtle shifts that you only notice when you look back at where you were a month ago and realize how much has changed. The ice is cracking, not violently, gently. The way a frozen lake begins to melt from beneath the surface, invisible at first, until one day a crack appears and you realize the water underneath has been moving for weeks. Your singleness was never a curse, chosen one. It was a chrysalis, and the butterfly does not apologize for the time it spent in the dark. It does not look at the broken shell and feel shame. It looks at the sky and knows that everything before this moment was building wings. You are not someone who gets leftover love. You are not someone God forgot to match. You are someone for whom God prepared specific love, tailored love, custom-built love. The kind of love that could only exist because of exactly who you are and exactly what you have been through. And that brings me to the most important transition in this entire message, because everything I have shared so far has been building toward a truth that I cannot avoid any longer. There is something standing between you and this future, something inside you, not outside you, not a circumstance, not a person, not bad luck or bad timing. Something that lives in the hidden rooms of your own heart. And if I do not name it honestly, everything I have said will remain beautiful theory. Beautiful, comforting, resonant theory that you nod along to and then walk away from unchanged. I do not want that for you, and I do not think you want that for yourself. So I am going to name it. There is a belief that lives inside you, deeper than your thoughts, deeper than your prayers, deeper than your conscious mind. A belief so fundamental that it has been operating in the background of every relationship you have ever had, every decision you have ever made about love, every moment of self-sabotage you could not explain. The belief is this: I am not worthy of being chosen by someone good. Let that land. Not the surface version of that belief, where you say, of course, I am worthy, and move on. The deep version, the one that operates at 3 in the morning when you are too tired to perform confidence. The one that whispers when someone attractive shows interest, and your first thought is not excitement, but suspicion. They will leave once they really know me. The one that surfaces when something good happens in your love life, and your body actually tenses instead of relaxes, because somewhere inside you, good things feel like setups for bigger disappointments. That belief, the one you might be hearing described for the first time in language that matches how it actually feels inside you. Where does it come from? It comes from the same places all deep wounds come from. From childhood, where love may have come with conditions or strings or absence. From early experiences of rejection that taught your nervous system that wanting love is dangerous. From religious environments that sometimes, with the best intentions, communicated that suffering is holiness and wanting something good for yourself is selfishness. From a culture that celebrates independence and frames desire for partnership as weakness. The wound of unworthiness is not a personality trait. It is not who you are. It is something that was installed in you by experiences that happened before you had the language to challenge them. A child cannot argue with a parent who withholds affection. A teenager cannot debate the theology that equates longing with sin. A young adult who has been rejected 3 times in a row does not sit down and conduct a rational analysis of their worth. They just absorb the message, I am not enough. And the message goes underground, where it runs the show from the shadows. And here is how unworthiness shows up specifically in your love life. It is the reason you have pushed away people who showed genuine interest. Not because they were wrong for you, though some of them were, but because the attention itself felt foreign, unsafe, like wearing someone else's clothes. It is the reason you have stayed too long with people who undervalued you, because their undervaluation confirmed the story you already believed about yourself. It is the reason that even now, even after everything I have shared in this message about signs and preparation and divine timing, there is a part of you that is resisting. A part of you that is thinking, this sounds nice, but it probably does not apply to me. Not really. That resistance is not discernment. That resistance is the wound of unworthiness protecting its territory. Because if you truly believed you were worthy of the love I have been describing, you would not be managing your hope right now. You would be receiving it. I want to be clear about something. If you carry this belief, it does not make you broken. It does not make you weak. It does not make you less spiritual, or less mature, or less ready. It makes you someone who was told lies about your value and believed them because you were too young or too hurt to know the difference. And believing a lie when you do not have the tools to recognize it as a lie is not a character failure. It is a wound, and wounds heal. But wounds do not heal while they are hidden. They heal when they are named, when they are brought into the light. When someone looks at them directly and says, I see this, and it does not define you, and it is time to let it go. And that is exactly what I am going to help you do. Not today, and not all at once, because this kind of healing does not happen in a single moment. But I am going to name it. I am going to show you the second obstacle that compounds it. And then I am going to walk you through a release that I believe will shift something in you that has been stuck for a very long time. But that comes in the next part of this message, and I need you to stay with me through it. Because the naming was hard, the releasing will be freeing. And what waits on the other side of that release, the identity that has been buried underneath the wound of unworthiness that is going to take your breath away. The second obstacle is sneakier than the first, because while unworthiness shouts, I am not enough, this one whispers something that sounds almost wise, and that is what makes it dangerous. It whispers, you have been hurt before. Remember what happened last time. Remember the betrayal. Remember the empty promises. Remember how long it took to put yourself back together. Why would you open that door again? This is fear disguised as wisdom, and it lives in the tension between two forces that are pulling you in opposite directions. On one side, there is your longing for love, the deep, God-given desire to share your life with someone. On the other side, there is your nervous system screaming, do not let anyone that close again. And I need you to understand something about this tension. Both sides are telling the truth. Your longing is real. Your fear is also real. The longing comes from the part of you that was made for connection. The fear comes from the part of you that was burned by it. And neither side is lying. But here is the problem. Fear does not know the difference between the past and the future. It does not know that the person who hurt you and the person God is sending are two completely different people. Fear only knows one thing. Last time I opened, I got wounded, and so it locks the door. And it locks it with chains made of every memory, every scar, every night you spent putting yourself back together after someone who promised to stay decided to leave. And those chains served you. I want to honor that. Those walls you built, that guarded heart, that refusal to be vulnerable again. It kept you alive during a season when you could not afford another wound. It was not weakness, it was wisdom for that season. But the season is changing, and the walls that protected you in winter will imprison you in spring. The armor that saved your life in battle will suffocate you in the bedroom. And the very thing that kept you safe is now the thing keeping love out. And there is a deeper layer to this that I need to name, because it is not just fear, it is identity. Somewhere along the way, during the long years of being alone, you did something that felt empowering at the time. You built an identity around your independence. You became the one who does not need anyone, the strong one, the self-sufficient one, the person who handles everything alone and does it well. And the world applauded. People looked at you and said, "You are so strong, you do not need a partner, you are enough on your own." And it felt good. Because in a culture that respects independence above everything else, being the one who does not need anyone is a kind of currency. It buys you admiration. It buys you respect. It buys you a sense of control in a world that has taken so much control away from you. But here is the part no one told you. The identity of the one who does not need anyone is not a permanent structure. It was scaffolding. It was meant to hold you up while the real structure was being built underneath. And the real structure is not someone who does not need love. It is someone who is so whole that they can receive love without fear and give love without depletion. And the scaffolding has to come down for the building to be seen. I know this is uncomfortable. I know some of you are resisting what I am saying right now because that independent identity feels like the safest version of you, and in a way, it is. But safety and fullness are not the same thing. You can be safe and empty. You can be protected and starving. And the question is not whether you can survive alone. You have already proven that beyond any doubt. The question is whether surviving alone is the same as living. And I think you already know the answer. So here is what I want to do. I want to walk you through a release. Not a complicated exercise. Not something that requires you to be anywhere other than where you are right now. This is internal. This is between you and God, and the parts of yourself that have been carrying weight they were never meant to carry forever. Here is what I want you to do. Wherever you are right now, whether you are lying in bed or sitting in a car or walking down a street, I want you to bring your attention to the center of your chest. Not physically, mentally. Just place your awareness there, in the space behind your breastbone, where you have felt the ache, where the loneliness has lived, where the fear has tightened its grip so many times. And I want you to picture that space as a room, a small room, and in that room there is a door. A heavy door that you bolted shut a long time ago. And behind that door is not danger. Behind that door is the version of you that is not afraid to be loved. The version of you that existed before the first heartbreak. The version that can receive tenderness without flinching, that can trust without guaranteeing the outcome, that can open without controlling what comes through. That version of you is not dead. It is just behind the door. And right now, in your mind, I want you to walk up to that door. Do not open it yet. Just place your hand on it. Feel the weight of it. Feel how long it has been locked. And now, silently, in your own heart, I want you to say these words, not to anyone else, to the fear that put this door here. Thank you. Thank you for protecting me when I could not protect myself. Thank you for building this wall when I needed a wall. Thank you for standing guard during the worst nights of my life. And now, this is the part that matters. I want you to say this, but the war is over. The person who hurt me is not coming through this door. What is coming through this door is something my pain could not have predicted. And I do not need you to guard it anymore. And in your mind, as gently as you can, I want you to picture yourself turning the lock, not throwing the door open, just unlocking it, hearing the click, feeling the mechanism release, and leaving the door slightly, barely, just a crack open. That is enough for now. A crack is all God needs. He does not need you to be fearless. He needs you to be willing. and a cracked door is willing. Whatever you felt during that, tears, resistance, nothing at all, numbness, warmth, a catch in your breath, all of it is valid. All of it is the process. Release does not always feel like release in the moment. Sometimes it feels like grief. Sometimes it feels like nothing. And sometimes the shift does not show up until tomorrow morning, when you wake up and realize that something is lighter, something has moved. And there is one more thing I want you to release right now. The old story, the narrative you have been telling yourself about who you are and why love has not come. Whatever version of that story you carry, whether it is I am too much, or I am not enough, or love is not safe, or I am meant to do this alone, I want you to see that story as a coat you have been wearing. A heavy coat. A coat that was necessary in winter. And I want you to picture yourself, right now in your mind, taking off that coat and laying it on a chair. You do not need to burn it. You do not need to destroy it. Just set it down, step back from it, and notice how your body feels without its weight. The obstacle has been named. The fear has been thanked and released. The old identity has been set down. And in this lighter space, this space where the heavy coat is no longer pressing against your shoulders and the door is cracked open and the old story is sitting on a chair instead of sitting on your chest, I want to show you what has been waiting underneath it all. Because underneath the wound of unworthiness, underneath the fear, underneath the identity of the one who does not need anyone, there is a person you have not fully met yet. Not a new person, the real person. The one who existed before the pain started editing your story. And I want to introduce you to who you actually are. Not who the world told you to be. Not who heartbreak shaped you into. Who you are. You are a seer. That is the first truth. You see what others miss. You always have. In conversations, you hear what is not being said. In relationships, you feel the undercurrent beneath the surface. In rooms full of people, you sense the one person who is carrying something they have not told anyone about. This gift, this ability to perceive what is invisible to most. It is not a burden, even though it has often felt like one. It is the reason your soulmate will feel truly seen for the first time in their life. Because you will not just look at them, you will see into them. And for someone who has spent their life feeling misunderstood, being seen by you will feel like coming home. You are a cycle breaker. That is the second truth. The patterns that ran through your family before you, the settling, the toxic dynamics, the silent suffering, the relationships built on obligation rather than love, those patterns end with you. You are the one in your bloodline who said no more. Not loudly, not with drama, but with the quiet refusal to repeat what was handed to you. And your relationship, the one God is preparing, will be the first truly free relationship in your family's history. Your children, or the people who watch your life, will see a model of love that did not exist before you had the courage to break the cycle. You are a wounded healer. That is the third truth. Your heartbreak was not wasted. Every tear you shed, every sleepless night, every moment of pain that you survived and transformed into wisdom, that is medicine, not just for yourself, for your soulmate. Because the person God is sending has wounds of their own, wounds that match the specific medicine you carry, and you have wounds that match the medicine they carry. This is not codependency. This is co-healing. Two people who have both been through the fire, not destroying each other with their damage, but applying the salve that only someone who has been through similar fire can offer. You are a light bearer. That is the fourth truth. There is a quality of illumination that you carry into every room you enter, not the loud kind, not the look at me kind, the kind that makes people feel safer, the kind that makes truth easier to speak and pretense harder to maintain. Your love will not be dim. Your relationship will not be a place of hiding or performing or muting yourself. It will be full spectrum light. And the person who walks into that light beside you will be someone who does not squint. Someone who has been living in their own kind of brightness and recognizes yours as kin. You are a bridge. That is the fifth truth. You carry two worlds inside you that most people keep separate: spiritual depth and human intimacy, sacred silence and messy, beautiful, everyday love. Most people live in one world or the other. They are either deeply spiritual but emotionally distant, or emotionally connected but spiritually shallow. You are the rare one who carries both, and your soulmate will be the first person in your life who does not make you choose, the first person who can sit with you in prayer and then laugh with you over something ridiculous 5 minutes later. The first person who understands that holiness and humanness are not opposites, they are partners. These 5 identities, the seer, the cycle breaker, the wounded healer, the light bearer, and the bridge, they are not aspirations. They are not things you need to become. They are things you already are. You have been operating in these identities your entire life, often without knowing it, often without anyone around you having the language to name what they saw. But I am naming it now, and I want you to receive it, not as flattery, as recognition. And now, chosen one, I want to do something that might feel unfamiliar. I want you to declare who you are, not in the way the world declares things, with volume and performance, in the way God declares things, with quiet certainty, with the grounded conviction of someone who is not trying to convince themselves, but simply agreeing with what is already true. You do not need to say these out loud. If you are not in a space where that is possible, say them inside. Let them echo in that room behind your breastbone, the one where the door is now cracked open. I am the one who waited with dignity. I am the one whose preparation has purpose. I am the one who broke the cycle so that love could begin again. I am the one who sees what others cannot and heals what others will not touch. I am the one for whom God has been working in secret, shaping something so specific that no substitute could ever fit. I am worthy, not because I earned it, because I was made for it. I am ready, not because I am perfect, because I am whole. I am being led, not because I can see the road, because I trust the one who built it. Declaration is not arrogance, chosen one. Declaration is agreement. You are not writing the story, you are receiving it, and what you just declared is not something you invented. It is something God spoke over you long before you had ears to hear it. You are simply, finally, catching up to what He already knew. Take a deep breath. Everything we have walked through, the past, the present, the signs, the vision, the obstacles, the release, the identity, it was all leading here, to what I am about to speak over your life now. What comes next is the most important part of this entire message. It is a prayer, an activation, a declaration spoken not by you, but over you. And I believe, with everything in me, that what I am about to say will stay with you long after this message ends. It will echo in moments when you need it most. It will resurface on nights when the old doubts try to return. And it will remind you, in a voice that is not your own, of who you are and what is coming. So, stay right here. Do not leave. This is the reason this message was placed in front of you. God, Father, author of every love story ever written and every love story yet to come, we come to you now, not with the desperation of the forgotten, but with the confidence of the prepared. Not begging for what we do not have, but thanking you for what you have already been building in the places we could not see. Thank you for the waiting. I know that is a strange thing to say, but thank you, because every night of loneliness that this chosen one endured was not empty. It was a workshop. Every tear that fell when no one was watching was not wasted. It was watering ground that is about to bloom. Every prayer whispered into a dark ceiling at 2 a.m. was not unheard. You caught every single one. And you have been answering, not with words, but with a preparation so thorough so meticulous, so fiercely loving, that when the full picture is finally revealed, it will take their breath away. Thank you for this person's faithfulness, for the way they showed up day after day to a life that did not yet contain what they longed for most, for the way they chose kindness over bitterness, for the way they refused to settle when settling would have been so much easier, for the courage it took to stay open when everything in them wanted to lock the door permanently. Thank you for bringing them to this message, not by accident, by appointment. And now I want to speak directly to what you see. God, you see every night this chosen one cried alone and told no one. You see the smile they wore to the wedding while their chest ached. You see the dinner table where they sat across from an empty chair and pretended it did not matter. You see the moment they almost settled, almost said yes to the wrong person because the loneliness had become unbearable, and how something inside them, something you placed there, pulled them back at the last second. You see how they kept loving in a world that kept taking. You see how they kept believing in a future that kept delaying. You see every unanswered prayer they carried without complaining, every holiday they spent alone without bitterness, every time they chose to be happy for someone else's love story while their own remained unwritten. You saw all of it, and none of it was invisible, none of it was overlooked. Every act of quiet faithfulness was recorded. Every moment of silent endurance was honored. And what you are about to do in their love life is the direct answer to every single one of those moments. And now, chosen one, it is time to release. Not in the gentle way we practiced earlier, in the full way, the final way. I release the belief that I am too much for someone to love. Release. I release the belief that I am not enough for someone to stay. Release. I release the memory of the one who left without explanation and took a piece of my trust with them. Release. I release the shame of wanting love in a world that told me wanting was weakness. Release. I release the timeline I built in my head, the age I was supposed to be married by, the life I was supposed to have by now, the script I wrote for myself that reality refused to follow. Release. I release the image of who I thought I would end up with, the fantasy partner who does not exist, so that I can make room for the real person God has actually prepared. Release. I release the voice of every person who made me feel unlovable, every careless word, every cold silence, every rejection that my heart absorbed as evidence of my worth. Release. I release the need to control how love arrives, when it arrives, and what it looks like when it gets here. Release. I release the part of me that has already given up, the tired part, the cynical part, the part that decided hoping was too expensive and shut the window. Release. I release the old story, the old ceiling, the old wound, the old identity that was built on pain instead of purpose. I release it all. And now, in the space that releasing has created, I call something forward. I am not asking, I am not begging, I am activating what God has already set in motion. I activate the full frequency of this chosen one's heart, no longer dimmed by fear, no longer guarded by walls that have served their purpose, no longer broadcasting the signal of unavailability. The true signal, the one that was calibrated through every season of preparation, let it broadcast now at full strength. I activate the divine connection that has been prepared since before this person was born. The soul contract written in eternity, the matching frequency shaped through parallel fires, the convergence that has been building momentum with every passing day. I call it from the spiritual realm into the physical, from the invisible into the visible, from promise into manifestation. I activate the courage to be seen fully, the courage to love without performing, the courage to trust without guaranteeing the outcome, the courage to say yes to what God is sending even when the old wounds scream, "Be careful." I call forth the seer in you. Awake, see clearly. See the one who is coming with eyes that are not clouded by past pain. I call forth the cycle breaker in you. Arise, Let the old patterns end here, in this moment, in this prayer. Let what comes next be new. I call forth the wounded healer in you. Step forward, carry your medicine with confidence. What you have been through is not your shame, it is your offering. I call forth the light bearer. Shine, do not dim yourself for anyone ever again. The one who is coming is not afraid of your brightness. They have been searching for it. I call forth the bridge. Stand firm in both worlds, spiritual depth and human warmth, sacred calling and everyday laughter. Carry both. Your soulmate will understand both. And now I cover this rising with protection. I speak protection over this chosen one's heart as it opens. Guard it, God, not with the old walls, but with your wisdom. Let discernment be the new gatekeeper. Let peace be the new security system. Let the fear that once locked the door be replaced by a faith that knows how to welcome what is safe and close what is not. I speak protection over the connection that is forming. Guard it from premature exposure. Do not let it be broadcast before it is rooted. Do not let the opinions of people who do not understand divine timing poison what you are growing. Let it unfold in the quiet, the way all sacred things unfold, seen first by God and only later by the world. I speak protection over this chosen one's journey between now and the moment of meeting. Guard the in-between days. Do not let the enemy use the remaining distance as an opportunity to plant doubt. Do not let impatience rush what patience has been building. Let every day between now and then be full, not empty, full of purpose, full of preparation, full of the steady, unshakable knowing that what is coming is real. And now, this is the peak, the highest point, the deepest truth, and I need every word of this to land. I am loved, not someday, now, in this moment, before anyone arrives, before any hand is held, before any vow is spoken. I am loved by the God who built my heart and knows every chamber of it. I am chosen, not as an afterthought, not as a backup plan, chosen first, chosen specifically, chosen with the deliberate, careful, unhurried attention of a God who does not make mistakes. I am being led to someone who will not run, someone who has been through their own fire and came out carrying the same scars and the same medicine and the same stubborn faith that there was someone on the other side of all that pain worth waiting for. I am the answer to someone's prayer. Right now, in this world, there is a person who has been asking God the same question I have been asking, and I am the answer they have not yet received. My existence is their confirmation, my preparation is their hope, my healing is their future home. I am worthy of the love that is coming, not because of what I have done, because of who I am, because the God who does not waste anything spent years shaping me for this. And what God shapes, God does not abandon. We, every chosen one hearing this, we declare together, the waiting season has served its purpose. Every tear was counted, every prayer was heard. Every lonely night was a brick in the foundation of something unshakable. The preparation is honored, the formation is complete, and the new season is here, not approaching, not on the way, here. Beginning now, in this breath, in this moment, in this declaration. It is done, it is spoken, it is sealed, not with the fragile seal of human hope that cracks under pressure, with the seal of the God who spoke the universe into existence with a word and has never once had to take a word back. The preparation is not ending, it is completing, and what completes does not fade. It transforms. It becomes the foundation upon which the rest of the story is built. What God has joined in the spiritual realm, no force on earth can separate. No fear, no doubt, no enemy, no past, no distance, no timeline. What is sealed, and so it is. In the name of God the Father, who writes every love story with hands that have never trembled. Amen. One more thing. I did not plan to say this, but I feel it strongly right now, so I am going to trust it. Whoever is hearing this at a moment when they almost gave up, whoever is hearing this at the exact point where they were one bad night, one more disappointment, one more empty holiday away from closing their heart permanently, I need you to know something. This is the moment God chose to intervene. Not yesterday, not next week, not after you had already sealed the door and walked away from hope forever. Right now. Through these words, through this message that found you when you did not go looking for it. The timing is not accidental, and the fact that you are hearing this at the precise moment when you needed it most is not coincidence. It is the loudest sign of all. You are not the person who pressed play all those hours ago. Something has shifted. I know you can feel it. Maybe it is subtle. Maybe it is just the faintest crack of light under a door that has been closed for years. But it is there. You walked into this message carrying the question, will love ever come for me? You are leaving carrying something different. Not an answer in the way the world gives answers, with dates and guarantees and signed contracts, but a knowing. The kind that settles into your bones and does not leave. The knowing that says, love has already been working on my behalf. And it has not stopped. And it will not stop. Now you see, your entire love story, the past pain, the present signs, the future vision, the obstacles that tried to block it, the identity that was buried underneath. It was always one story, one preparation, one continuous act of a God who does not start things, he does not finish. And it was always leading here, to this moment, where the old story ends and the new one begins. If something in this message touched you, if one sign, one word, one moment made your spirit respond in a way you cannot explain, I want you to do something right now. Go to the comments and type the word ready, not for me, for you. Let it be your first declaration in this new season. The first word you speak as the person who is no longer waiting in the dark, but standing in the doorway of what is coming. And for those of you who felt that pull earlier when I mentioned the Soulmate Sketch, the portrait of the person whose frequency matches yours, the link is in the pinned comment. It is not for everyone. But if your spirit has been saying yes to it throughout this entire message, trust that yes. Do not overthink it. Do not let the old fear make the decision for you. One more time, because this matters. There are counterfeit sites using AI-generated faces with no spiritual connection behind them. The only genuine link, the only one I trust, and the only one connected to real clairvoyant artists working with actual spiritual energy is the one pinned below this message. If you feel called, that is your door. If you do not, everything this message has given you is already yours. The signs are real, the preparation is real, the prayer has been spoken, and no sketch is required for God to do what God has already decided to do. And one last thing. If you know someone, one specific person, who is in their own waiting season right now, I want you to send them this message. Not as a casual share, not as something you toss into a group chat and forget about, as an act of love, as the spiritual equivalent of Ruth's faithfulness in the field, an act of showing up for someone else's story even when your own is still unfolding. You know who they are. Their face came to your mind just now. Trust that. Send it to them. Because the same God who placed this message in your path might be using you as the bridge to place it in theirs. Chosen one, go in peace, go in expectation, go knowing that every single day between now and the moment you meet them is not empty, it is full, full of preparation, full of purpose, full of a love that is already in motion, already converging, already closing the distance between two people who were shaped in separate fires for the same future. You were never forgotten, you were never overlooked, you were never the one God skipped. You were the one God spent the most time on, because what He is building with your love story required a foundation that could not be rushed. And now that foundation is laid, deep, solid, unshakable. Until we meet again, and I believe we will, carry this with you, not as a memory of something you once heard, as a truth you now live from. You are chosen, you are prepared, you are loved, and the one who prepared you does not abandon